Block Show. Got ourselves what is now a 6-game slate in front of us. We'll walk you through everything. Hopefully, it will remain 6 games throughout the hour, but if any other games are postponed or delayed, we will tell you all about it. I'm Chris Spags, joined by my pal here on Live Before Lock, the baseball savant himself, Jake Hari. How are you doing, Jake?
Doing well. Hopefully, yeah, same thing about the Pitt game. Hope that one plays. I think that one could swing the slate, and we'll also have some decent hitters in that game that we could play. So, I don't know, not my favorite one here, but maybe I'll like it more and more as I start to crunch out my lineups here on screen.
I'm happy with the lineups I did before. I did most of mine beforehand, so it was helpful. We only have one lineup right now we're waiting for with the Mets lineup. The Mariners lineup just came in, so we are all clear there besides the Mets. But yeah, I think we are reluctant in general, and I'm always reluctant to be like, oh, it's a bad slate, because there are no bad slates. You're playing the same slate as everybody else, so there really isn't an appreciable disadvantage for you compared to what everybody else is making lineups. But at the same time, this is one, I mean, the weather, I think, not the best stuff that we have, losing one game with a really good pitcher, and also a stack in Boston I thought would have been pretty appealing going against J.A. Happ. And currently we are waiting on news on this Milwaukee and Pittsburgh game, because I think that's one I have less of because I was worried about the weather and I just didn't want to do a bunch of replacing while we were on the show. But I guess, Jake, tell me about that. What are you doing with that one right now? You're playing it straight?
I'm playing it straight up right now. That could obviously change as we go once I start to do my final crunching, but yeah, it looks a little bit dicey during the game, which is even worse. Like, I'm really only considering a heavy amount of one guy, and that's Musgrove, for the pitchers at least. I do like the Brewers stack, though, if Musgrove's going to be popular on the other side, because I do have the luxury of playing 150. So I don't exactly know what I'm doing yet with that game. I'll just kind of play it by ear and see what happens as far as Alex's projections updates.
Yeah, so that game, I was actually more intrigued to go against Musgrove than to play Musgrove today, because the lefties in that Milwaukee lineup can cause a lot of problems, I would say, and also do a lot of damage going against Joe Musgrove, who's had some noteworthy struggles versus the left side of the plate compared to the right side, where he actually is a fairly strong pitcher. I'm in the Brewers too, they still are generally projected under 10% ownership, and they have a ton of power here. And Pittsburgh's park this year has been hospitable towards doubles and especially triples, almost 2 times the amount of triples for their park factor so far this year for whatever reason. So I think it's an interesting stack to go against Musgrove as a leverage play. But yeah, right now, if you're playing it straight, I could certainly see how you would get Musgrove and want to go with that. Oh, here we go. Alex saying I'm not seeing anything concerning with Pittsburgh. So the boss man,
Well, there we
Mr.
go.
Osmo, yeah. He's saying it's good to go. So follow at Osmo Weather just in case anything else changes. That is our weather handle that Alex is manning himself. Also follow at Osmo DFS, because we appreciate the boss man being in the chat when he's busy making lineups. Also, speaking of the boss man, Jake, we got this giveaway today for the NBA Finals. If you go to the @awesome_com Twitter handle, you can win a free year of all access, as well as a one-on-one coaching session with the aforementioned Alex Osmo Baker. That one is priceless, but the membership, the free all access pass for 1 year, is a $699.99 value. If you want to round up and say 700, that's also fine. All you have to do, go to that handle. You're going to be guessing the closest number of points in the game tonight between the Warriors and the Raptors. If you do that, you'll be the person who can win this great prize that we have out there. So go to the @Osmo_com Twitter handle right now. Check the pin tweet. There's details on what you need to do to be entered to win. But go there right now. You got some time. It's going to be a slow slate. We'll be here for you. So go check it out. Jake, you doing any finals lineups?
Oh yeah, man! I've got a bunch of tickets into this this $1 million tournament, so I'm not max entering it. I suck at NBA DFS and have never really tried to be good at it. But I did try to win these tickets because I want to play in these $1 million contests. And I'm going to do the same thing for NFL when that comes around. But yeah, I've got 48 or 49 tickets or something like that.
Oh,
so
okay.
I've got some shots at it.
How did you get that many tickets? That's a lot of tickets for a $25.
Well, they started doing it like a month ago. And I was just like, all right, well, this looks fun. And I won a few like the first night. So I was like, well, I might as well just go after this and see how many I can win. So won a bunch of tickets. And yeah, tonight's the big night. Plan on being a millionaire after tonight. I was telling Lofty this morning. So we'll see. We'll see. Then I can buy Josh all the pizza rolls for life because I'm using his projections.
Oh, there you go. I'm sure that it won't be a 100-way split for that prize. That will be. No. I mean, even though splitting $1 million plus all the other prizes 100 ways, that would still be a decent day at the office, but not quite $1 million day at the office.
Yeah, over under like 10K for like the first place split. Like, what do you say there?
So I think over because this is my hot take, which if you want more hot takes, Fast said he'll be on in I guess 2 hours or so. He'll be doing his live before lock show. I think it's gonna be a lineup without Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry's gonna have a tough day today. So I think that increases the chance that the pool would be around 10 grand or more. So I would take the over.
So do you think Kawhi's going to be glued onto him? Is that why?
So I think Steph Curry is going to get double teams, and Fred VanVleet also defended him really well in the one game that they played this year, in which Curry was active. So I think they're just going to throw a lot at him and try to make Clay Iguodala Cousins for as much time as he's out there, and Draymond Green beat him. And I think those guys certainly can put up enough points, but I think Curry's going to have a day. I think he still may be in the winning lineup because the upside that he has is probably too high compared to the other guys. But I think he's a guy I'm going to have some fades of, and I think his captain ownership is going to be really high. So I think might be a spot to get away from in the hopes of making it a little different.
Yeah, I was underweight on him as a captain for 150. When I get down to 48 or 49, I'll still have some Curry captain lineups, but I was noticing I was getting less of Steph than I thought I was going to get, and I bumped up Kawhi because I just love Kawhi, and I'm just watching as a fan and just to gamble a little bit on the game. But yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to it. I love the finals. I don't watch a ton of NBA besides that, but I love the finals. I just think it's awesome. And it's been LeBron, but now we get Kawhi for the first time in a few years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, Kawhi playing out of his mind defensively and offensively. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled there, obviously, and go to the @awesome_com Twitter if you want to get on the excitement there. But I think there's going to be some interesting stuff today, and it should be a fun game. Being in Toronto too, Toronto very passionate about their basketball, and I hope they keep Kawhi as part of this process. It'd be fun if they at least make a good run of it, and it's enough for him to stay there because he feels like a Toronto guy, like a guy who's just not, kind of unassuming, not about the social media stuff as much. And Toronto has really embraced him.
I think it'd be pretty badass if he went there, won a title, and then just said, "All right, I've done what I set out to do here," and then they would love him forever still. So, I mean, they're going to love him forever no matter what. Like, even if they get swept here, yeah. It's like the most exciting time in sports for Toronto since, like, the Blue Jays won the World Series.
Yeah, a memorable run this playoff has been for them. So, yeah, go check that out tonight at the NBA Finals and watch the channel as well. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when Fast Steady goes live, I believe, with our boy Rinpack, who does our social media stuff. So keep your eyes peeled for that. All right, so we talked a little bit of baseball, but let's go back to that, obviously, because this is an MLB Live Before Lock show. Let's talk Carlos Carrasco up top because he is the guy you really need to decide on here. Going to be about owned by, or I guess around half the field, a little bit less than that. I'm with the field on him. It was a really tough situation for me where I want to go against him. I am going against him, and pretty much, I wouldn't say all the lineups, but a good portion of the ones I don't have Carrasco in. But, even if he does give up a couple home runs here, I think the strikeout upside is still too strong to avoid. His price, too, being down, it's hard for me to avoid. But what are you doing with Carrasco here, given that he's had some struggles this year, giving up a lot of power?
Yeah, I mean, I think oddly enough, I was right at 48%, which is what we had him in the update that I did this last crunch at, the one before the one I'm doing right now. And I think I'm going to end up right around the field. That being said, there are some White Sox hitters that I do want to force in on my non-Carrasco lineups. Like, I want to have a bunch of Moncada and Alonso two-mans and mix Abreu in there and Jimenez. Like, there are some cheap guys, and Carrasco has been giving up power, like you mentioned. So, I think Carrasco's a fine play. He's hopefully not going to decide my night because I'm going to be around the field on him. But the White Sox could decide my night in a good way if Carrasco actually does get blown up here, which I think it's a decent chance to happen. They're not a super high chance of being the top stack, but I think if someone hits a 2-run homer or something, that could be huge leverage on a guy that's 50% owned.
Yeah, I mean, and we saw that yesterday with Blake Snell, where there was, at least in the beginning, I don't know what the final lineups, I don't think it actually ended up being that much of an issue, but Snell had a tough day, and Snell, I talked about in my Four Corners video today, the short form video I do on the channel. I think like Snell on paper looked perfect yesterday to me, like in terms of the opportunity and what he's done. I would say Carrasco is the opposite, where, I mean, it's just so much power. 5.3% home run rate on the year, giving up 9.8 hits per nine, giving up 42% hard contact. The swinging strike stuff and the strikeout stuff have all been there. I mean, he's got a 14.2% swinging strike rate, 35% chase rate, 11.1 Ks per nine. So he's still getting results in terms of strikeouts. And I think that does give him a degree of a floor here, unless like he just got shelled and taken out in 2 innings. But it just like, it feels like Snell was perfect and he didn't do well. Now Carrasco feels very imperfect, and it wouldn't shock me if he just went nuts today.
Oh, it's a great strikeout matchup. I don't think anybody can deny that. and he could still give up 4 runs but strike out 10 and be worth it, and the White Sox stack could get wiped out. So yeah, it's another great strikeout matchup, but weird things happen in baseball, and whenever you have a 50% owned pitcher that has been volatile this season, you're gaining so much more if he does poorly than you are if he does well. So while like he should be in your cash lineup, I think there's no doubt about that on DraftKings, and probably on basically every site. In tournaments, like you should, if you're making multiple lineups, I think you should have some White Sox, whether it's 2-mans or full stacks against Carrasco.
Yeah, I agree. And also, some cheap prices too. For you mentioned Alonso and Jimenez. Those are 2 guys I like quite a bit. Jimenez, I think, would be my preferred guy overall, just because if he's cheap and if he has that home run power, I mean, he has a lot of home run power, at least a somewhat limited sample size, but I like him. Alonso, a little bit less compelling to me, but still, I think, very cheap at $3K on DraftKings. I think that works. How about the other side here, Manny Banuelos and the Cleveland stack? I mean, obviously, we're going to talk more about the stacks, but Banuelos kind of interesting because he has been getting strikeouts. And Cleveland is going to be highly owned, very highly owned. And they've been pretty impotent versus left-hand pitching on the year. I think they're getting a little better, like Jordan Luplow being in the lineup, I think, weird to say, has helped them out quite a bit. Lindor as well, getting healthy, I think has helped as well. But I think you can go both ways here. And I think I have a little bit of Banuelos on DraftKings as an SP2 just because it's really big leverage against the field if he does do strikeout things like he's capable of. But what are you doing with this game? And I guess Banuelos.
I'm playing some Banuelos. I just loaded this crunch into my spreadsheet here so I can search for him and see what I got. How do you spell this guy's last name? Oh,
B-A-N-U-E.
I'm spelling it wrong. I'm spelling it B-U, like Buenos.
It's actually Banuelos, I believe, but yeah, you don't need to put the N-Y in, I don't think.
What is it?
Banuelos. It's got the tilde on top of the N.
Oh, okay, I see. Let's see. I'm not finding him, but I know he's somewhere in here. But anyways, I do. So he's a $5,600 pitcher. So that puts him in play for me on 2 pitcher sites. He's also cheap on Yahoo. And you're going to get a bunch of leverage on, especially a couple of these Cleveland bats. So I did get a ton of Lindor. I know I got a ton of Jose Ramirez as well. But yeah, Banuelos isn't a guy that I crossed off or anything like that. So I know I'm going to get him in some shares. I got him in 9% of my lineups out of the top 150 in the crunch I just did. So that's an exposure I'm comfortable with if he's going to be around 5% ownership. But he's another one I just don't want pitching to really decide my night tonight. So I'm playing a ton of these guys. Some of them are going to be a little bit overweight, some a little bit underweight. But yeah, Banuelos isn't a guy I'm really hitching my wagon to. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not hitching my wagon to him. I am a little bit over the field on him. I think I have 15% of him just because I had enough Cleveland. And again, Cleveland going to be really highly owned. And I think they're going to naturally occur for a lot of people who are making lineups through optimizers or just in general because you're going to see the numbers for Banuelos. But, Cleveland, so this lineup is a better one. Their projected lineup or their, I guess, confirmed lineup is stronger than they've been on the year versus left-hand pitching. But as a team, they've only had a 74 WRC plus and a 132 ISO versus lefties. And Banuelos can give up a lot of power. I mean, he's given up a 6.2% home run rate so far. He's given up 11 hits per 9, a 1.9 whip. It's all pretty bad for him. But the strikeouts, 9.3 strikeouts per 9, if Cleveland stinks like they have for most of the year, I think he could have a day that's worthwhile here. And then you're getting leverage on the field. And, if I'm trying to import a little bit more of the Josh style approach of leverage to my lineups, and it's been working well. And this is one spot where I think maybe he's not as bad as it seems and he can get those strikeouts.
Right. Yeah, I have been actually too. And that's probably something interesting that we could talk about maybe on future streams, but just trying to get that balance between having the right amount of leverage and ownership and projection as well, because anybody can just play the highest projected players on the slate, which Ramirez and Lindor are going to be. But when you do play them, those are going to be 2 of the higher owned hitters on the slate. So you just need to be smart about what you're doing with the rest of your lineup. If you're full stacking the Indians, it doesn't really matter that much. Those are probably 2 guys you want in the lineup. But yeah, it's so interesting to me trying to balance how much do I want to weigh ownership, how much do I want to weigh leverage against a popular pitcher, and all this stuff. But yeah, still working on trying to master that kind of thing and become the next Osimo.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, I think has done a good job. I think sort of educating people about the idea of like batter leverage, and sometimes he'll say his top sacks. It's like, all right, sure, like that's didn't see that one coming, but yeah. But it's always got a logic of that, and I think the same thing does apply for pitchers too. Where if you have a guy who can get strikeouts, maybe he just gets the strikeouts today, and then you have the high owned batters on the other side. I think that's something that is also possible to look at. Not often the case when you have a high team total team and a cheap pitcher that they're actually going to have strikeout upside. And I think this is one spot where maybe Manuelos has enough upside, at least enough to justify like a smidgen of ownership if you're entering multiple lineups.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Let's go to the higher price guys, Jake. We got Hyunjin Ryu has the best team total going against him on the day, just 3.1 implied runs against him. The Mets have been putting up runs, as your boy Sean B, I'm sure will point out in the chat right now. Right now he's talking basketball, so he's like playing with the other boys on the other playground. But Sean B did mention in the comments of my video today, talking about how his distrust of Vegas is magnified because of the Mets' success going against the Dodgers. And like I think I said it on content yesterday, I did not see it for Walker Buehler. I just didn't get the ownership on him. I didn't get the love for him. There was a spot where he got blown up. Ryu here, I don't quite see him getting blown up. I think your issue could be maybe he doesn't get enough strikeout stuff. But he's been a super tournament pitcher. He's had up to 40 fantasy point upside almost. He's also had days where he's got negative. Not actually, he has had a negative day. I'm not sure about that, but he's had like 10-point days. So Ryu's been kind of all over the map this year. One negative day on the year. So I like Ryu. I think he's a safe play, but I don't know if the upside's there. I'm still wanting to go to him in case Carrasco blows up, in case Morton, going against a tough Twins lineup, just doesn't have it. What are you doing with Ryu?
I'm underweight right now, not heavily, but I think I agree with you. I don't know that the strikeouts, I don't know if this is a huge strikeout upside spot for Ryu. If you were to play this same team a bunch of times, there is some power on the Mets. They actually have a higher WRC plus versus lefties than the Dodgers do this year, which I found a little bit surprising when I was looking it up this morning. And then me and Laffy talked about that a little bit. But you understand why with Alonso and Wilson Ramos. Frazier is a career lefty matcher. Ahmed Rosario has improved a little bit, and then J.D. Davis up there. So, I think the Mets are still striking out over 25 or 26% of the time versus lefties. So I don't think Ryu's going to be bad or anything here. It's just a kind of a tough price to pay when I want to pay up for guys like Bellinger and Yelich and the Rangers stack and all this other stuff. So there's also not a lot of good cheap options to play with him. Everyone's going to play Musgrove with him or Benuelos, and I'm just trying to get away from the chalk lineup construction per usual.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it. And the ownership has come up a bit on Ryu to where he's, he's not at Carrasco territory, but he's close to Morton territory. Actually, no, he's above Morton now, so never mind. He's higher owned projected ownership than Morton is. So, I think there's a logic. I feel like there is a degree of safety with Ryu, and that's the one thing I would say. Here, Donald Trump in the chat. I assume not the real one. Ryu hasn't been all over the mat. He's been dominate. He says, I believe that would be dominant. But his last start, 13.5 fantasy points. Only had 6 innings, gave up 10 hits to Pittsburgh. So, not a great showing for Ryu. Before that, 26.1 fantasy points, which is fine. But the value, though, I think of Ryu is the issue, where he's priced at over $11,000 on DraftKings. If he's getting you 25, you're probably not too mad about it. But if Carrasco puts up 30, it's not the best spot to be in because he's $2K cheaper almost. So I think it's sort of a complicated issue with Ryu.
Yeah. He's had a very good season, but he's going to have ups and downs as every pitcher does, even the best of them. So it's not a perfect spot by any means. But yeah, I guess he still does have that upside. I was actually surprised when you mentioned that he's gotten up to almost 40 DK points this season, because he doesn't strike me as that kind of pitcher.
Two games in a row. He had 38.85 and 38.8.
Yeah, so that was a little
versus
bit surprising.
Atlanta and Washington too. So good teams.
Exactly. So he's talented. Just for 11-2, the nature of the slate, I don't think he's going to be a guy that I end up getting overweight on.
Yeah, I think it's a fair approach. Let's go to Charlie Morton, since he does kind of complete that. Well, I guess Mike Minor is also in that price range, but I don't really view him in the same tier as the other guys because he's in Texas and just doesn't have quite the strikeout upside, I would think, as the other guys. Charlie Morton's been really good on the year. He gets 3.6 implied. It runs against him at home going against Minnesota. But Minnesota's lineup just smashing both righties and lefties. I think arguably it actually might be the best hitting team versus righties overall in the league right now. Ton of home run power in a park, which does kind of limit factors a little bit, at least doesn't add to them. Kind of just a straightaway Tampa Bay park this year with every park factor just around 1. So they're just league average for everything. But Morton's good, and Minnesota's also good. So Morton, I got to the least because I respect Minnesota a lot, but I think Morton's not an unviable play.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. He's a guy that I'm preferring a little bit over Ryu with the savings he gets you, and then I like him as a pivot off of Carrasco. I wasn't really crazy about him this morning, and I'm still not crazy about him, but just pure projection and ownership play, and just a talent play. Like, he's got as much strikeout upside as anyone, even against a tough Minnesota team. So you get Minnesota in one of the worst parks, so quite a big park downgrade for them. And Morton's just striking out so many lefties, over 37% of lefties this season for Morton. Just ridiculous strikeout upside. It's not a great matchup, but he is a guy who still could go a K per inning or something like that and be the top raw point pitcher. So he's kind of my guy in the top range.
Yeah, I think, okay, so he's your guy. Interesting.
Well,
yeah, like I think he's worth some exposure to you. Like, I think I'm about with the field that I might be slightly under. He's at 27% projected ownership on DraftKings. I think I'm at 25. Yeah, I like getting to him. I just think, like, there's so much power for the Twins. Like, all these guys here, like Max Kepler, 4.1% home run rate, Scope 5.1%, Rosario 5.8%, Crone 5.5, Arias 5.3. Adrian's a little bit underneath league average at 2.4, but then you get down to Castro, hits 5.4%. Like, Morton does limit home runs, but you're just going to be facing guy after guy. I guess that could also kind of improve his strikeout upside a little bit, where maybe these guys are going to be swinging for the fences a little bit harder. But, Arias hasn't struck out a bunch, and I don't know. It's not a perfect Morton matchup either, but I think he's just as good enough. I wouldn't hate Twins exposure either, though.
Castro instead of Astudillo in there makes quite a big difference for Morton's strikeout upside, because Castro strikes out a bunch, and Astudillo never strikes out at all.
Yeah, Castro 31% strikeout rate versus righties, but he does have the power. So I mean, it's sort of a give and take with that whole thing. But yeah, I think there's a fair point to that. What about the other pitchers here? Minor, Perez, any of these guys popping out to you as being worthwhile? Like in the higher, like sort of higher price, not the super cheap guys.
Minor, Perez, not really minor. I guess you could kind of make a case for any of these guys just based on their ownership, but I don't think I'm going to much minor. I didn't get to much Martine Perez. The guy I kind of got to next after Morton and some Carrasco is I got to a good amount of what's his name, Musgrove, and then Chase Anderson, both pitchers in that game. So someone was asking if pitchers are safe. I'm playing it like pitchers are safe in that game. And then I got to some Felix Payne. What do you think about him coming in as an opener or a long reliever?
A projected long reliever? Yeah, I have a lot of him, and it's not because I like him. It's not because I think he's good. But you go underneath him, like Banuelos, I think is okay, but I have enough Cleveland where I'm not getting him naturally. So it is going to Pena. And Kikuchi, I just hasn't shown much in general. And maybe if he gets you 12 and Pena gets you like a worse day because he can't give up power. I think it's a situation that could not be great, but to me, Pena's price worked to get a lot of the bats in I wanted. I want a lot of Dodgers bats. I wanted a lot of Texas bats. I wanted smatterings of Cleveland. I wanted some of the White Sox as well if I'm not playing Carrasco. And the results of that is me with like 50% Felix Payne.
50? Wow. Okay, so I got like just under 20, and I thought that was a pretty hefty stand. So 50, man, that's a guy you're hitching your wagon to. I like it. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm doing the same max 20 things. My bankroll and my time is generally going to NBA, and when we're doing these shows, I try not to do max 120 or max 150 because it's hard to host a show and kind of keep talking and keep things moving and watch everything. And as Jake can attest, it's hard to do the crunching part while you're doing the shows. But for like a 20, like if I have Pena and he gets me 15 fantasy points and everybody else underneath him kind of sucks, but he got me the bats I needed to get, I think he can work, and that's where it worked for me. And it's not a great value projection, though. I will say that. I think that's all you're looking for on this slate is just a guy kind of in the mid to low tier. Like, which one of these guys is going to get you like 16 to 18 DK points? Because it just seems like a slate that sets up where a bunch of them get blown up, and there's kind of one guy that emerges as the guy you need to have if that line of construction is going to work out, and you're going to get some of these expensive bats doing what expensive bats do a lot of the time. Yeah, and Seattle's park, not a great hitting park, one that does decrease the factors for pretty much across the board for everything besides run total, and even that's only 1.02 compared to a 1 average. So
really not much to worry about in terms of that with Pena. So he's getting a park upgrade. It's also his whip has been pretty good this year, under 0.96 whip for the year. And the hits per 9 also down to 6.7. The issue is really his pitch count. It hasn't been getting that high. So he's probably not worth the $7,500 price tag. But if Banuelos isn't good and Kikuchi isn't good and Musgrove either doesn't get his full run or just gets blown up like he's very prone to do, I think he could be the last man standing there. And it doesn't feel great. I'll tell you that, Jake.
No, it doesn't. But he's a guy. That's why I asked you. I mean, he's just Pena. Like, I like playing these relievers, but when they're priced at 7,500 and he's already a guy that doesn't go deep, it makes me a little bit nervous. But I am just kind of trusting the projection on him. So he's the guy I'm probably most nervous about that I'm overweight on. But who's to say he's that much worse of a play than like Kikuchi? I know Kikuchi's probably a better like raw point value, but everything's about ownership in this DFS sport. So
yeah, and in terms of raw points, I mean, Pena is projected for 13.4, at least the most recent update I have on my sheet. Kikuchi is at 11.1. So if you have the money to get to Pena, I think I'd be inclined to go to Pena and just hope for the best. And missing bats well. Like, he's been more effective in the shorter stints for whatever it's worth. That is something noteworthy. And the Mariners can strike out a bit. They do have some guys who'll give you Ks. So hopefully it works out for him. Let's pray for Felix. Let's see. We talked about Musgrove a little bit, but I guess, well, actually, how about Martine Perez? Because he's a guy that's kind of had some heat on him recently, and the deeper dive guys have talked at length about some of his approach changes and the pitch type changes he's had, why he's kind of had the improvements on paper he's had. Because going back to last year, he's given up 10.5 hits per 9, but on just this year's sample size, 7.9 hits per 9, strikeouts up to 8.7 Ks per 9, up from 6.8. His home run rate down to 2%. His swinging strike rate up to 11% from a little bit under 9 going back to last year. So the improvements are there. He's a decent pitcher. And I think with Tampa Bay, you're really only worried about the top 3 here, maybe. Brandon Lau has some pop, but I think the lefty-lefty matchup is not the best for him. But what about Martine Perez? Would he be a guy you would consider at all?
He's a guy I'm considering. I'm just scrolling to try to find him right now, where he ended up on my 150 here. No, that's Roberto Perez. All right. Yeah, I got right around the field another guy that I'm not taking a huge stand on. And I kind of like that. I do really like the improvements he's made. He's missing a lot more bats. I don't know if he's a 9K pitcher in this spot, but he is fully stretched out. He's going up against a Tampa team that you can get some strikeouts against these guys. You're getting a really chalk hitter in Darno that he's going up against. I don't know about the rest of Tampa if they're really chalky at all. In fact, I don't think they are as a full stack here. Actually,
so yeah, some ownership on Adames and Garcia and Pham. Not chalky, but noteworthy enough, I guess, compared to some
they
other.
are. They're a little bit chalkier than I expected. They're top half for the slate, so they're actually going a little bit over-owned. So you're getting a little bit of leverage with Martine Perez. I don't hate it. It's just another one of these guys. It's like, okay, I'm fine if I get 10% of him, but he's not someone that I'm like, yeah, you got to go 50% Martine Perez here. Are you getting to a lot of him?
No, I might have one lineup with him, but even that I actually don't believe. I might have got off that. So yeah, no, I think it's an okay spot to go to him. I don't mind it as a concept because he's been safe-ish for the most part, especially by what you'd expect of him going back to last year. But yeah, like, it's not a great spot, and if the Rays are going to be owned, I guess I could see why you'd go there for leverage. But the $9,000 price, like, if you were around Perez's or on Pena's price, I think I'd be closer to it. Like, maybe if you were 8K, 8,200, 9K, it seems like a lot for Martine Perez in this spot.
Yeah, and same thing with Pena. So I just talked about a guy who was a not great value, but Perez falls in that same category. Like, he can get you 20 if things go correct for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the projection-wise. We have Perez projected for 14 fantasy points and Pena at 13.4. So I'd rather save that 1,500 and take the guy who may be a little bit more likelihood of getting blown up, but also, could just be okay and cheaper and give me that extra money to get 1 or 2 bats that are approved.
And we actually do have an ownership now on Pena on our last update. So he's under 10. So I like that.
Ooh. All right, so I'm double the field on Felix Payne. Feeling good. Felixing good right now, Jake. Speaking of Felixing good right now, let's see the home run picks. We're a little bit past the halfway point. Our boy Emac, if you have been tailing Emac home run picks, I don't know that you'd be more profitable at DFS, but you'd feel like you're smart, I guess. Emac leading the way with 11 home runs on the year now. Josh, number 2 with 9 home runs on the year. Jake, 3rd place with 8. And I am bringing up the rear, which pains me so much, but it's okay. We're going to have a hot streak coming. 7 home runs on the year. We're all in range, Jake. So that's all that we can ask for. But give me your home run pick because you are the baseball spawn.
All right. Let's see. Who's a guy that I'm on compared to the field? I like. Did I pick Mondesi yesterday? I think I did. I don't think he donged.
You did not. Neither he nor Dozier donged, unfortunately.
Okay. Why don't we go back to the well with a guy I just picked a few days ago? I'll take Yasmani Grandal again.
Ooh, okay. I like that pick. I mean, like I like those Milwaukee lefties, or at least guys hitting from the left side of the plate there. I think they could be interesting versus Musgrove, and I really do like them as leverage, assuming that game is going to play as we're expecting right now. So I like that pick. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go to. Actually, do I want to go to Texas? I don't know. I want to go to Texas. I think I'm gonna go to Cleveland. But I have to go get my boy Banuelos. That's fine. I'm gonna go with the GOAT, Jordan Luplow. He shares a name with an all-time basketball player. It's NBA Finals Day. So Jordan Luplow, the ginger assassin, Jordan Luplow, who I just learned today is ginger, so that's his new nickname.
I just learned that right now. Very good.
I saw his photo on DK and was like, oh, he's got like a red beard. That's fun. So, Jordan Luplow, step on up, you Viking bastard. You are my home run pick.
We got one in Premium Slack, Yahoo Cash, Gregory Polanco, or Nomar Mazara.
Who would you go with?
I think Mazara.
Yeah, Polanco's interesting, but I would go Mazara too. I'm more confident in that stack, and Anderson, he does give up some power to. Well, no, it's more to righties. So yeah, I'd go with Mazara.
Yeah.
Also, we have one other question from Pedrito PR before we talk about our stacks. What pitcher would you choose in one single line for FanDuel?
One lineup on FanDuel. I kind of want to say Morton.
I would just go Carrasco, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the obvious play, but looking at where Morton's at compared to Carrasco, he's half his ownership. I kind of like going to Morton there, picking on my Minnesota Jakes.
I think I would still go Carrasco and just take it, unless you're going to go like directly and try to leverage against the field and go to like some White Sox and get them in there. And if you're not going to do that, don't have that appetite for risk. I think just go with Carrasco and take the value and hope he just gets strikeouts, even if he does give up a home run or two.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk stacks, Jake. Which is your top stack right now in your crunches that you've done?
Looks like Milwaukee. I am getting a ton of Milwaukee, which I kind of like whenever they're going to be low owned and the pitcher against them is going to be popular. So Milwaukee's up there for me. I wanted to get to a few more Dodgers. I'm getting to more KC than I thought I was going to this morning. A lot of Mondesi, a bunch of Maldonado, which I don't think is surprising. Nicky Lopez, a pretty decent value as well. Those are kind of the two that are sticking out to me. And then, let's see. Did I end up getting any White Sox in this one? I didn't here, but I will get to some White Sox as well. I do like them. There's just so much leverage you're getting off of a really chalky Carrasco. What about you?
Well, I thought we were going to go stack by stack instead, because we got to stretch this one out, Jake.
So, you want to go stack by stack?
But first, we did get Emacs Dong pick in, and I don't want to do him a disservice because he is the leader in the clubhouse. And again, if you're tailing Emacs picks, this is one to follow today. Ronald Guzman of the Rangers is his pick, which actually I think is kind of sneaky. So,
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, if Emac gets another home run today, it's going to be a little worrisome. He's not fat enough to fit Emac's usual criteria, though. Emac loves those burly gentlemen at first base.
Yeah, no Vogelbach tonight?
Yeah, I guess he wants to go with Felix Payne, probably. Too much Payne for Emac. All right, so yeah, the first stack, Milwaukee, let's go with that. We talked about them a little bit here, but Yelich I like a lot. Like the price is out of this world, but he's amazing, and Musgrove is bad versus lefties, so it's sort of the best combination. And again, just real fast, because I feel like maybe this has changed since last year, and maybe there's some mitigating factors I'm not seeing. But Pittsburgh's park has been really good for doubles and triples, and the only thing gives a slight decrease in is home runs. They're a little bit under 1 for that, but everything else has been a boost. So I think just quality hitting like Yelich and Moustakas and Grandal, I think all those guys can certainly have some production here. Hiura, too, also has been really getting some nice power numbers going against righties, even though he's striking out at a 41% rate, which is kind of onerous. But yeah, I think that stack is really interesting. And now that we were feeling like the weather's okay, the boss man said it's okay, so that's what we're going with. We're assuming that this Pittsburgh weather is going to be good enough to go.
Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. There hasn't been anything in the projections as far as a postponement risk. So for me, that's good enough. I don't think I'm changing anything right now. But yeah, you're getting more leverage for this Brewers stack, a stack with a ton of power, a guy that struggles with lefties. I don't know what there is not to like. It's not like Yelich and Grandal and Moustakas can't hit home runs in this park. I mean, they've got the power to get it out anywhere. It's just a little bit tougher in a stadium like Pittsburgh. So
yeah,
I'm hoping people are off of that because I really, really love the Brewers here.
And even if they're not getting home runs, but they are getting those doubles and triples, which have been there in Pittsburgh, like I would take those too. I think if anything, that might make them more viable as a stack instead of one-offs. So yeah, I think I would have interest there, and I probably don't have enough of it because I was scared away by the weather before the show. But if I were a person playing lineups right now, I'd want to get above the field on it because the ownership does not match their potential for being a top stack right now.
I agree.
Give me your number 2.
Who did I say? I think KC is up there. I don't know if I'm getting a ton of KC stacks or if it's just Mondesi and Lopez pulling up the total exposure for me. But I am getting to them as mini stacks, even though I don't like picking on Minor all that much. It looks like I think they were actually going a little bit overvalued, so I'd like to get underweight on them as the full stack and just play them as 1 and 2 and 3 mans. But I don't know. What do you think about KC here?
I think they're a little bit interesting. Like Merrifield is a guy who I have, I think, in maybe 1 or 2 lineups as a one-off, and I think he works for me. Full stack, I didn't quite get to, though they were coming up a lot with our projections, and that is one where I kind of didn't listen to them enough. I might not have enough of the stacks based upon what we were getting, at least what I was getting on Fantasy Cruncher with our projections before we did the show. So yeah, I think there's a logic in going there. And Minor, being in Texas, it is a hot day or a hotter day in Texas. It's going to be almost 90 degrees. And, the park is heating up. The Texas bullpen is also pretty bad. So if Minor does get gotten to, and then Texas's bullpen is in there, you could have a really big scoring day for Kansas City. So I get it. I probably didn't get there as much as I should.
Yeah, they weren't a stack that I liked this morning. But Mondesi is just really, really sticking out to me as a guy I want to play.
Yeah, I agree. What about the other side here? Texas is one of my preferred stacks on the day. Got a lot of minis, got some 5-mans, got some various forms of them because I got a little creative today with my stacks. So I wanted to get some players in there. But I like Texas. Really, I don't think there's anybody I would strongly go against. Andrus, maybe, I think, because the price is pretty high and he doesn't have much home run power versus a fellow righty. But even that, I mean, it's a warm day, and Junis can give it up to anybody at any time. So I like Texas quite a bit. The only guy I don't have any of is Jeff Mathis because I'm tired of falling into his traps, his tricks, Jake. I'm over it. But everybody else on Texas looks good to me. What about you?
Yeah, they look good against Junis. The problem is I'm having trouble getting them into my lineups with all these super expensive guys at the top. So I do have some Texas stacks. It's not like I'm avoiding them on purpose or anything. It is a good spot against Junis. It's a great park, best park to hit in on the slate by a good margin. And a guy who he really struggles with lefty power, over 40% hard contact to lefties for Junis. So there's nothing holding me back from Texas besides the price. And so for those reasons, I'm kind of getting a little bit below the field on these Texas hitters.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like the ownership to me doesn't seem terrible, and we do have their potential for being a top stack a little bit higher than the ownership currently is. So, yeah, I think if you can afford him, again, if you're willing to go to Felix Payne, you're willing to join the crew, or Joe Musgrove or anybody in those price ranges, or you want to get really creative and go to Banuelos, try to get some leverage on Cleveland, I think you can get there a little more easily. But for me, it was worth getting there for mini stacks, and I think them and the Dodgers, I did take on a little bit more mini stack wise with them in hopes that I could find the one guy who'll kind of be the value driving everything.
Yeah, I really love Bellinger for that Dodgers mini stack. Like Bellinger, Muncy, those two would be guys I would be trying to force in. And same thing with Verdugo, because Vargas, he doesn't only suck against righties. He's bad against lefties as well. So People just avoid lefty for good reason a lot of the time, but in the context of a full stack, you're probably not even facing Vargas for that long if the stack does what a stack is supposed to do when you play it in DFS. So
Sure.
I love the Dodgers. I think they're going to be a little bit undervalued based on their chance of being the top stack.
Yeah, I didn't get as much Bellinger price-wise as I would have expected. I have a ton of Kike, which kind of sucks because he got bumped down the order from the projected leadoff spot that he was in before. Chris Taylor, too, a nice value hitting leadoff now. Dual position eligibility, too, which is a positive. Yeah, I'm with you on it. Just Bellinger I didn't get to quite as much as I thought I was going to get to. But everybody else here, I mean, Beatty, I feel like might be pushing a little bit too much because he just gets pinch hit pretty much every time. He has one at bat and he's done. But Russell Martin, too, at catcher, I think is priced reasonably well, given the fact that Vargas is going to give up a lot of home runs to righties. 4.6% rate going back to last year versus righties in terms of home runs allowed. So I think you'd stack him a bunch of ways. And you're right about Bellinger, too. I mean, his splits are a little bit worse. The one thing I would say about this Dodgers lineup, though, is I really wish that Justin Turner were in here because I had a lot of him and he looked great.
Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, same thing with Seager. I mean, Seager's a guy who's hit lefties really, really well as well. So that was a little disappointing to see those two guys out. But some unfamiliar names, maybe people get off some of these Dodgers. And then Kike not leading off, I'm sure, will bring down his ownership just a little bit at 3,700. If he was 3,700 and leading off, he would be super chalk. And I don't know if enough people will have time to react to put in Taylor or like recrunch or whatever, since we just got this lineup like 25, 30 minutes ago, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, either way, too. I mean, Kike, it's certainly not great. He's going to lose some chances at bats, but a decent likelihood he'll have more guys on in front of him hitting in that 5 hole, and he's got the power to drive them in or to hit a home run and knock them in. So I don't mind Kike being chopped down a little bit just because I think it may give him more chances at RBIs, and sucks to lose the at bat in the positioning, but I don't think it hurts him too much materially.
Yeah.
What else are we getting stack wise that we haven't talked about? I guess we should we go back to Cleveland? I feel like we touched on them as part of the Banuelos conversation, but they seem relevant.
Sure, we can talk about Cleveland. For me, I am playing a ton of Ramirez and Lindor, and I'm a little over the field on the stack, I think, as a whole, which I didn't really intend to be this morning. But those two guys are really, really bringing it up for me. So I love them as two-mans, even if you're not getting the full Cleveland stack. I think the full Cleveland stack is going to be really easy for people to get to with Carrasco. First of all, it's a good correlation with Carrasco. And then they're cheap, so they allow you to fit a $9,500 pitcher as your SP1 or even maybe your SP2, depending on how many of these guys lower in the lineup you want to get. So, yeah, I think maybe the full stack I'm not as crazy about, but the two guys that stick out are Lindor and Ramirez that I'm playing a ton of.
Yeah, so I like Perez as a catcher. I mean, he's a little bit higher priced than Russell Martin, but he does have some power, and he's been hitting well. On the year, he's been generating a good amount of power, but even going back to last year, he's got a 3.8% home run rate, 46% hard contact, and Banuelos just giving up a lot of hard contact, a lot of home run power. So I think that would be a guy who I'd be intrigued by. I don't get what's wrong with Jose Ramirez. Like, he's got a 104 ISO on the year, and his numbers are slowly kind of matriculating down. He's also getting bumped down the batting order. A guy like Jordan Luplow is going to be much lower owned, and he's been significantly better on the year, and I guess going back to last year too. What do you think could possibly be wrong with Jose Ramirez that he's kind of just not finding his form at all so far?
I have no idea. I think I've asked everyone that I've had a show with, and I can't really come up with anything. Like, a guy doesn't just forget how to hit. Mm-hmm. He's been one of the better hitters in the major leagues for the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden he can't hit for power or whatever. Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me. We're still not even a third of the way through the season, are we? So I'm still giving him a pass for now. He's still projecting out very well. So I don't know. I'm just kind of riding with it and hoping he turns it around when I play a lot of him.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be highly owned, so that's the main reason I throw that out there, because if you get off of him, even in this Cleveland stack, I mean, Lindor to me seems worth it. He's been hitting well both this year and in general. But Ramirez, I think I have enough concerns about, where 25% projected ownership for him, at least in the most recent update that I have on my sheet. That's a lot. It's a lot of Ramirez for a guy who's just not doing much. And you can make an argument this is a spot for him to get well, going against the guy who gives up a ton of home runs in a positive home run park. But it hasn't been there for him. And I think it's worrisome enough where I might come under the field on him, even if I'm still stacking a bunch of Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Anybody else in the stack you consider like a must-have besides Lindor?
Well, I would say Ramirez based on my exposures I'm looking at, but I understand if people don't want to play him. Um, it's like $3,900 Jose Ramirez, and he's chalky or whatever, but this guy should be like last year at this time he would be an absolute lock. And I don't have much reason to believe he should be that different of a player than what he is. So those are kind of my two guys. Your boy Leplo, I think, is my third after that.
Mm-hmm. So Leplo's numbers, he's faced 91 lefties or 91 at bats versus a lefty going back to last year. 354 ISO, 7.7% home run rate. The hard contact doesn't quite match what he's been doing in terms of that output, so that's a little bit worrisome, but just doing a good job generating runs, 149 WRC plus. I think he's a good play, and I think he's been one of their steadier hitters. Like, I'd still prefer Lindor if I were one-offing anybody here. But Leplo, I think, is a somewhat forgotten man, just under 7% ownership projected.
Forgotten man. There you go.
Poor Ginger Assassin. You'll get there one day, buddy. Who else stack-wise should we hit on? Who are you getting a good amount of that we haven't talked about?
Those are kind of the main few. A stack that I would like to get more of is Texas, as we mentioned. But, I like Cleveland and Milwaukee are really carrying it for me. I'm not really into Pittsburgh all that much. I feel like this LA-Seattle game I keep forgetting about, and that worries me. The Angels and the Mariners. Are you getting to either one of those two stacks? Because I'm really not at all, and I'm getting way less Seattle than what I thought.
Yeah, I didn't get any. I really didn't get any of either side, to be honest. I think I might have some Tim Beckham that just straggled into lineups because I think it just worked price-wise. I kind of wish I had a little bit, given, again, the onerous amount of Felix Payne I have. It would have been logical to have some Seattle stacks, but I didn't get there. But there is a lot of potential home run power here. And Pena can give up some home runs, too, to the left side of the plate, especially. Just a 3.5% rate, also a 1.4 whip compared to a 0.9 whip versus righties. So I think a guy like, Seager, even Alex, I think hitting leadoff could be a little more interesting. Dan Vogelbach, too, obviously a ton of power. We talk about him a bunch on the show. I think it's worth having stacks here, and I wonder if Pena's ownership maybe will be a little bit higher, but because we talked about him on the show primarily.
Yeah, exactly. Of course.
The salary I feel like is going to work a lot for people when they're making crunches. I would think. I think it's going to pop up more for people because he just kind of is in that weird price range.
Yeah, I think so. He's just like, he wasn't even in our projections for a while today, talking about Pena. So I don't know. I just wonder how many people, like, we thought it was going to be Skaggs for a while, so I wonder how many people are going to actually adjust to that. So yeah,
well, I guess we'll find out. The Kawhi Lights, great and timely name in the YouTube chat, asking, can you fade Bell in a Pittsburgh stack? I would say, you could certainly fade anybody in a stack, but out of all the guys in that lineup, I feel like I wouldn't say least inclined, but he would be as much of a must-have or a reason to want to go to that stack as anybody there. So I wouldn't be there for it. But Jake, what about you?
Fading Josh Bell?
Yeah.
He's looked incredible, and I wouldn't fade that guy. I think, like Alex says, if the Pittsburgh stack goes off, there's a very good chance he's a part of that going off. So while he's expensive, he wouldn't be a guy that I would want to leave off.
Yeah, I think that the Polanco, Marte, Bell, Reynolds, and then I would want Moran. Like, I would just want that straight five because I think all those guys look the most appealing to me overall. And yeah, and Bell on the year, just his numbers, in case you're wondering, I guess, why is 5,700 on DraftKings or just high priced all the way industry wide. 409 batting average, 345 batting average, 409 on base percentage, and a 374 ISO on the year, as well as a 188 WRC plus. So he's making the most of every opportunity he gets, and Chase Anderson can give it up to both sides of the plate. So yeah, I would definitely want Josh Bell if I were going to go that direction.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, thanks, Jake. Yeah, do not fade Josh Bell in a Pittsburgh stack. Play a fly says, there you go. That's why. Play is going to play a fly. Stack against Carrasco to be different. We talked about this up top, but we have some new people tuning in. And by the way, if you are a new person tuning in, hit that like button, please. It's a Thursday. This slate's been stressful. Some weather issues, some confusing kind of stuff to navigate ownership-wise. So help us out. Hit that like button. Helps us keep the lights on. Helps us feel like we've accomplished something in our lives. We derive all of our value here by the amount of likes we get on content, right, Jake?
That's how you should derive value out of your life as well. Mm-hmm. Just however many likes, the little hearts you're getting on Instagram or Twitter. Oddly enough, we have Instagram and Twitter pages, as Chris has mentioned, so go follow those. But yeah, that's what life's all about, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and those Twitter and Instagram pages are both at also at at Osmo_com. And also right now, if you go to the Twitter, the pinned tweet on there is going to be a giveaway for an all access pass as well as a one-on-one coaching session with Osmo. So go check that out. It's the pinned tweet on at Osmo_com. Get a free year of all access, as I mentioned, plus a one-on-one coaching session with Alex Baker, who you know is Osmo. He will be there on Skype, or maybe you can even go to romantic lunch together. I mean, if you're a dude, because he has a girlfriend, so you can't, if you're a lady, you have to only professional business lunches. But if you're a dude, take him out to a romantic lunch, maybe. I don't know. When the options are all in front of you. All you have to do is guess the closest number of total points between the Warriors and the Raptors in game one. If you get that right and you're the lone guess, I guess, in that price or that point range, you will win all the prizes. So go to that pin tweet on at Osmo_com right now. All right.
What would be your guess for that contest?
Has the line moved? I feel like I haven't updated my sheet.
It's around 213, 214.
Okay, so
because like you can't guess. I mean, you can guess like 213, but everyone's gonna do that. A bunch of people probably just looked up the over under.
So I would think if you think Toronto's going to win, I think that score is lower. If you think Golden State's going to win, I think that the over under is higher. So I think Toronto steals game one, and
really?
I think that's the way I'm just feeling it.
Well, it's not steals, right? They're at home. I keep forgetting that.
Oh yeah, and they're also the favorite, or at least they were the favorite by a point too. So it's fundamentally kind of a steal, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I would think in that scenario, then I would say we're going like a 107, 101 maybe type situation. So I think I'd go like 208 would be my guess.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll be specific, by the way.
So there's been a few hundred by now answers. So I would be looking through it. Like you get the ownership projections before they happen, which is kind of cool. You can see what everybody else has picked and see which numbers people haven't picked. So I would just scroll through that and kind of pick a number that's somewhat close. And pick that. Like I wouldn't be picking 215. I think that's kind of a waste because even if you get it, you're still leaving it up to a random drawing with five. Or
just like you said, by the way, the first guess that I see, actually, well, technically the second guess from Aaron. I won't say the last name, I guess, in case they're like a private person. 208. 208 was the guess, so that person got to my guess right away. This guy Mo going weird with 173. Some guy 239. I mean, yeah, I think if you want to go high, that might be the move because it seems like a lot of these are just right around the total.
Right. So if there's overtime or whatever, like 240 would be a decent guess.
Yeah. So go check it out at Osmo_com. As Jake mentioned, there are a lot of game theory type things you can apply. A lot of things that Josh has talked about it a lot on some of his shows where we're talking about just kind of having ownership is like having part of the picture. I think that was what he's talking about with Adam on the MLB strategy show, I think yesterday. It's like knowing part of the picture if you can just see everybody else's guesses. So you know how many jelly beans other people think are in the jar. So make your guess.
Exactly.
All right. Let's see what else question-wise here. Nothing good. Who would be your our guy Makad? At least I don't think he's in the chat right now, but I'm always going to give him a shout out because he's the one who keeps us most on point with the Paul Blackburn of the night. Of course, a historical award that goes to the pitcher who is pretty terrible, but also cheap enough that he could be in a winning lineup. Who would it be, Jake, to be your Paul Blackburn pick?
So I think I know yours is Manny.
Oh yeah,
Manny B.
Okay. I thought you were gonna go Felix. I was like, he's a little too pricey to fit this criteria.
Yeah, so I can't say Felix. It's not Vargas, I don't think. So that kind of leaves me with, I think Junis could be okay if things go well, but like I think he could give you 16 to 18, which is kind of that mark I'm looking for in that range. That being said, I'm playing very few shares of Junis, so that's not an endorsement of him. I just think he's an okay pitcher. It's just a really, really tough spot.
Yeah, I agree with that take. I just think, like he's probably the most direct leverage, I guess, besides Banuelos. So if we're saying Banuelos is the preferred pick, I think Junis fits that same criteria. I mean, they're going to be less owned on Texas than Cleveland's going to be, but still a spot that's going to have a lot of ownership and a lot of people expecting production there. And if Junis somehow comes out and is more the high strikeout guy, who's been sporadically, I guess. I mean, he does have a little bit over 8 Ks per 9 going back to last year, so he has the ability on paper. It's just not a great spot versus the Rangers.
No, it's so tough. Anyone going into that park, it's just going to be tough.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of people, Ochi Blue and Play a Fly, both saying duh, Vargas.
Oof. I
Yeah.
mean, yikes.
I would go Junis over Vargas personally, I think.
Let's see if I got any of. Dude, I actually got more Junis than I want to admit here.
There you go. Team Junis here, ride or die.
Yikes. He's okay, so he's almost 10% owned right now. So that's actually, I'm not that far over the field on him, but yeah, I actually got to more Junis than I wanted to. But you know who my highest price or my highest exposed hitter is?
Who?
This is always a good day. Well, actually, top two: Christian Yelich, number one; Mike Trout, number two.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Are you just getting to the stacks, or there's just like you have money left over and that's a one-off?
I think trying to get a different construction. I ended up on like Morton with like Pena, or like two of these low-priced pitchers. So I ended up with a lot of one-offs of Trout and Yelich, and I'm sure Gallo and Bellinger in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to own a good amount of Musgrove, like I think you said you were going to have, I think having Yelich in there, as kind of the hedge to that seems pretty logical in those lineups without him.
I got a bunch of Manny Benuelos as well, around the same as Junis. So hoping one of those guys does the thing.
Donald, I feel like I'm saying Donald Trump and it's making the show political, even though we're not obviously commenting on anything here. But Donald Trump in the YouTube chat saying Vargas is a fastball slower than most pitchers' changeups. Yeah, that would make him prime Paul Blackburn material, but also not necessarily a guy you want to have as your pick.
What's Paul Blackburn up to these days? Have we found out?
I wonder. I feel like he's got to be in the minors somewhere. Like he was terrible, but I feel like not terrible enough to be entirely out of the league.
Yeah, I'm sure he's still kicking around somewhere, but yeah,
he's at Las Vegas in the Pacific Coast League, AAA. He's actually 5-1.
Okay.
I mean, not that win-loss matters or anything, but strikeouts per 9, still a healthy 6.4. He's given up 2.8 walks per 9, 1.5 home runs per 9. So maybe he's getting better. He's going to come back up and be a different man.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'd bet on that, but
it's not a high probability outcome, but who knows? Who knows? It would be funny if he came back up and he was like Frankie Montas all of a sudden striking out 10 dudes, even though you're like, what? This doesn't make sense on paper.
Yeah, Montas has killed me this season. Just like playing against him. I don't know what happened there, but obviously I did not catch it in time.
Yeah, I don't know that Frankie Montas thing is a forever situation, but good for him getting those few games in there and driving his price up to unsustainable rates.
Yeah, 11-3 yesterday. It's crazy.
It's just ludicrous. The pricing on some of these slates, like I don't even know. Like Carrasco, like I feel like if he were closer to 10K-ish or mid 10Ks, like this would be a much easier slate to think about because you wouldn't have 50% of him and be like really nitpicking him quite as much. You could just kind of avoid him.
Right.
But yeah, like at his price, it's hard. And like, then you have Mike Minor at over 10,000. It's just so strange sometimes.
Good old Mike Minor. Yeah, so his price isn't coming down anytime soon either. Like he's kind of at the point of no return, I think, with like us getting Minor at 7K anymore.
Yeah, no, he's been good enough. Like he really hasn't given up a ton of production. Play a Fly asking why go Blackburn when you can go Bassett. Bassett's actually hasn't he had a couple good games this year? I feel
Bassett's
like he did.
Been good early in the season. So.
Also, the Mets lineup is out. I don't know if that's new, but it is.
No, we've known that for a bit, but
okay, good. I missed that notification. It's Tomas Nido hitting at catcher at 2.2K. Probably still not worth playing, but that's something.
Just pick your mid-salary catcher, basically.
Yeah. You go with him. Who would you go, Nido or Jeff Mathis, if you're going for a cheap, terrible catcher?
Or d'Arnaud. I mean, I'd probably go d'Arnaud, but d'Arnaud was like 40% earlier.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to d'Arnaud. I'm tired of this d'Arnaud thing.
He has been able to. Yeah, he's not good, but he has been able to hit lefties for his career, if I remember correctly. Going back to previous seasons, I don't think that's been the case this year.
Yeah, I know going back to last year was bad because I looked at it. Going back to last year, just 30 at bats versus lefty, so not a big sample size, but 24 WRC plus, no home runs. On the year though, he has a 1 WRC plus and a 197 on base percentage and a 133 batting average for Travis d'Arnaud on the year.
That's even worse than I expected.
It's really impressive how bad he is. Like, I get the price thing. It's just, he's gonna have a home run today, isn't he? So, we're just dwelling on it too much.
It's gonna be a chalk dong. It's just gonna destroy me.
Yeah, that's probably the case. And also, if you are curious, we did the home run picks at the halfway point of the show. Our clubhouse leader, Emac, went with Ronald Guzman. Jake went with Yasmani Grandal. And I went with the Ginger Assassin, Jordan Luplow. I'm really going to get that nickname over if he hits a home run today.
Yeah, give me some Grandal. I accidentally took him from his weak side last time, and it worked out. He actually donged from the right side. But I think he's going to dong off Musgrove, probably first inning, after Yelich does as well.
Chris Robideau in the YouTube chat, top 2 teams to bet on, parsley them. I think that's a funny autocorrect. I assume he means parlay. We don't really do the sports betting stuff here, but Jake, if you were going to parlay 2 teams just for free, an unprofessional betting advice thing, who would you give your parlay or your parsley to today?
So I'll just take 2 teams that I think win, because I know in betting you're not supposed to talk about who wins. You're supposed to talk about where there's value. I don't know. I'd probably just play 2 favorites. I don't know. Vargas is terrible, so maybe take the Dodgers, and then if you wanted a long shot, maybe the White Sox get to Carrasco. I have no clue.
Yeah, that'd be a fun little money line, probably going with the White Sox. But yeah, I don't know about the likelihood of that one. I think the Dodgers are a sound pick to go with as one half of it, and then we're not super confident in the Texas-Kansas City game overall, because I feel like you got a lot of Kansas City. Man, this is a tough slate to pick a parlay from, or a parsley.
Parsley sounds nice.
I would, yeah. You know what? Why not? I would say go with the money line for the White Sox. Ride, have fun with that parlay and that parsley. Great garnish.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Go right now to the @Osmo_com Twitter. Go participate in the pinned tweet right there. It is going to be the game that we're guessing the point total combined, the Warriors and Raptors game today. And again, if you win, get a full year of all access premium to Osmo.com, as well as a coaching session with Osmo. So there's a lot of stuff there. The premium access alone is $700 value. Osmo's time and his input, priceless. So go check that out. Also, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because Fast Eddie Fuhrer is going to be going live, doing a live before lock show for the finals here. Just one game, but he's going to give you all the showdown angles. So tune in there. You just keep it on in the background before the game tips off. It's a 9 p.m. tip-off East Coast time. So just get in there, and he will be here for you. And Jake, anything you want to plug? Anything you got coming up?
No, I just want to congratulate myself for winning $1 million in the NBA Showdown, a sport I don't play. So thank you all. I'm sure you'll all be very happy for me when I bank the milli tonight. I
hope we split it 2 ways. I hope it's just me and you in first and second place, and then we might quit. We would be here. I would be here for sure if I won $1 million the next day, just to be like,
just keep doing this. Yeah, just keep doing it, and then I could just say, if anybody ever says my picks are terrible, well, I won $1 million, so you can't really talk.
Yeah, playing a sport that's not even like your main sport or one you care a ton about, or that would be the best proof of concept.
Exactly. There you go.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button on the way out, and we will be back with you again. Jake and I will be back tomorrow, actually. So enjoy and good luck.